But I mean, you talk about the opportunities and the coaching and this and that. Des Bryant pitched in his little 2 cents worth of free information uh,
As
by
he
throwing
does
out
ever so often.
a possible suggestion for who could be the next head coach of the Dallas Cowboys. And the name he dropped was Jason Witten. Now, call me crazy if you've heard this before, but I do believe somebody on this podcast threw the name Jason Witten out.
I sure did.
Either early this year or late last year.
I sure
and we
did.
all kind of scoffed at that because it was like,
you're
how
crazy.
Stupid do you think Jerry Jones has to be to do something like that? And the rebuttal we got was, he won the state title in high school. And everybody's like, okay, that doesn't mean anything. Well, apparently it means something to Jerry Jones because
sure does.
Jason Witten's he's a legend here for the Cowboys.
He's Cowboys royalty, yeah, definitely.
He's in the same mold of a Troy Aikman, Jay Novacek, Emmitt Smith,
Deion
Michael
Sanders.
Irvin.
He is a Cowboy.
DeMarcus Ware.
Yes,
he's one of those guys.
Yes.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
He's one of Jerry's guys.
Can I tell you what I think Jerry is trying to do? He sees the success that Dan Campbell has or has had with Detroit,
who also played here, by the way, Dan Campbell.
But it also tells you, think about this. Dan did play here. He didn't want to coach here. That says something. He went to Detroit instead of, because Dan he played here most of his
I don't
career,
think he was
correct?
ever looked at to be a head coach here in Dallas. I don't think that they ever looked at him or even thought about him being a head coach here in Dallas.
But we didn't see the vision. Everybody laughed when Dan Campbell came out with his stupid presser about biting ankles and being tough. And look at him now.
I don't hear nobody laughing now.
Hell
Shit
no.
works. It works with a certain group of people, bro. If you have a team that buys
like
in,
a racist suggestion?
No. If you have a team that buys into what you're selling, and he is the type of player coach that those players would run through a brick wall for. They would do anything for Dan Campbell. And when you have a coach like that, and
except win a Super Bowl,
and you have young men.
Too soon, bro. Too soon.
You have young men that will do whatever they can to get the job done. That's the success that you have. We don't have that here in Dallas. But hey, maybe if we get Jason Witten's kind of built like Dan Campbell.
He looks like Dan Campbell. He played the same position Dan Campbell played.
Hey, maybe we have a chance.
Matter of fact, I think he beat out Dan Campbell here in Dallas.
Listen, it's either Jason Witten, Deion Sanders, Bill Belichick. Those are your three. Choose
out of those three options, let me ask you guys. We'll go around the horn here. We'll start with you, Jay, since you brought it up. Of those three names, which name would you love to see here in Dallas as the next head coach? And why?
None.
No, you can't do that. You have to pick one of those three.
Realistically, none. However, man, God, that's tough, bro, because I would kind of lean towards Deion only because of how he turns around programs. But I don't know how he would work in a professional atmosphere. Know what I mean?
Is college coaching not a professional atmosphere?
It is, but then again, you're still coaching quote unquote kids. You know? You still see them as
young men,
kids, young men. not full grown men. They're like, man, I do what I want. I'm just here. I'm here to play ball. You can't coach me
that's the
anymore.
reason why the Cowboys look the way they look, because of that mentality right there.
I mean, that's how most teams are. That's how most athletes tend to be or tend to get once they make it to the league.
You literally just said the Lions are not like that.
They're not.
The Chiefs are not like that.
I think it's more or less
like that.
I think it's more or less an internal culture of the team itself. It has nothing to do with, it has nothing to do with whether, I guess the question is whether they've matured enough or not. I think it's just the way that everybody carries themselves. We've talked about it plenty of times before, to where we've said we have, however many it is, 53 individual brands here in Dallas.
Mm-hmm.
We don't have a cohesive group that is there for each other, that has each other's back. I mean, I think we're starting to see it now with the defense, where they're starting to be like that, where you can see that they're starting to mesh together well. They're starting to work together. They're starting to feed off of each other's energy, which is great. But at the beginning of the season, when we first started, when we got this with the season going, you could tell we have 53 individual brands of people trying to shine them by themselves, not having to worry about the next guy next to me, not holding people accountable. It looks like we're starting to turn that corner now. Why we waited to the end of the season to do that, I have no idea. We've always been so used to having this cohesiveness at the beginning of the season, going into the season, and then fizzling out at the end of the season. And it seems like this year it's kind of they did a switcheroo on us, to where we're starting to see it now going towards the end of the season, where everybody's like, please stop so we can get a good draft pick. And now we're starting to see them come together and work together and understand each other. So to me, it's like, I get what you're saying, Jay, but at the same time, it's like Joe just said, the Lions aren't like that. The Chiefs aren't like that.
But they have two coaches
the Bills, the Ravens,
that won't allow them to do that. 3. You name 3 legendary coaches. I mean, I can't say Dan Campbell is legendary yet. He's on his way.
Yeah.
Andy Reid, which Harbaugh is in Baltimore.
John, I believe.
John.
It's John.
John.
So
yeah,
John Harbaugh. I mean, you got legendary coaches that have built that culture around that team, that they're not going to allow that to happen. It's team, it's us, not I, it's us. And we have an eye problem here in Dallas. And
any glasses?
I mean, Jerry allows it. Mike McCarthy, I need to get my right eye fixed again. But I mean, we have,
you looking like Cavante Turpin. Cavante Turpin had LASIK over the summer, over the break, because he couldn't see last year. He was running blind.
Yeah.
Bruh.
And now he's like, I can see everything. I'm like, bro, how do you play football and you can't even see what was going on last year? That's why he ran into the kicker. For real. That's why he ran into the kicker instead of taking it all the way to the house last year. Stupid idiot.
But I mean, like I said, like those teams have coaches that don't allow that. Here we're more about marketing and podcast and all kinds of other
Big Mike comes
shit.
across to me like the parent that wants to be your friend. They don't want to be your mom and dad. They want to be your friend. And to me, I'm like, bro, that works for a little bit and it only goes so far. And then after a while, they're going to take advantage of you. They're going to run over you. And then it's going to turn into a clown show circus. And I think that's kind of where we were at the start of the season. I don't know if they're just more dialed in now, but for whatever reason, they've kind of straightened up. Let me get back to you, Julio. Jay dropped 3 names: Dion, Big Wit, and Bill Belichick. If you had to pick one of those 3 as the next head coach of the Cowboys, who would it be and why?
For me, it's very simple. I also will start out by saying I'm not going to pick any of them, but if I had to pick one, without a shadow of a doubt, is going to be Bill Belichick. Even though he's more old school, he, to me, we've seen what he's done in New England. We've seen how he keeps players, even those players that are known to be troublemakers, or not even troublemakers, that are players that are not coachable in a lot of sense. From AJ Brown, or I think AJ Brown played there for a little bit, or not AJ Brown. What's his name? What's the other guy's name? Antonio Brown. Him, and Randy Moss, before Moss was, considered to be one of those unruly players as well that didn't really get along with coaches. You see him being able to turn those players into players that are respectable now, players that know what it's like to play for somebody that doesn't take any BS, that doesn't take failure very lightly, that will call you out, hold you accountable, and make sure that you're aware that you're not the best player that you think you are. You're not as great as you think you are. So for me, I would like to see Bill here only for that aspect of it. The only thing that I know for a fact is that, like we've talked about plenty of times before, Jerry is Jerry, and he is one of those guys that, this is my team. I want it run the way that I want it run. And knowing Bill, even Dion, and I don't know about Witt because I haven't seen enough of him on a higher level for me to be able to call anything as far as Witt goes. But anybody you bring in here, they're going to want to do things their way. They're going to want to bring in the coaches that they want to bring in. They're going to want to be involved when it comes to picking players or helping with the draft, or brainstorming to see what we should bring in to help this team grow. And as long as Jerry's there, Jerry's going to be like, I don't care what you think. I don't care what you think this team needs. I know what this team needs. And what this team needs is more Jerry, more cowbell. This is what we need right now. That's what we need. And so as long as we have Jerry here, which will probably be for another 90 years, with cryo freeze and whatnot now available.
I put that on my kneecap when it hurts.
Yeah, I don't know, man. I can't see any of those guys coming in here to change anything around, even if we were to pick up somebody as great as Bill Belichick. But that would be my pick.
And to your point, Julio, Bill did keep a serial killer in check. Check.
That too. Mr. Aaron Hernandez.
Bill Belichick has made it painfully obvious that he wants to be the coach here of the Dallas Cowboys. He's constantly, as the kids say, he's glazing the Cowboys every chance he gets.
Mm-hmm.
He's making it very well known, whether it's leverage for other teams going into next year, or maybe it's just as it's kind of like leverage to finagle his way into the Cowboys organization next year. But he's made it very well known that he'd be more than willing to participate in trying to bring some prestige back to the Dallas Cowboys in the future. Julio, you said, hey, as long as Jerry and, Jerry being here and this and that, I don't necessarily agree with that completely. I do feel like Jerry does play a pivotal role, but I also think Steven is kind of what's keeping the train from rolling along, right? You see this team, and they do need some direction. They do need the discipline. Discipline is a big one that I would say the Cowboys are not very disciplined. They're a very undisciplined football team. You see it in the penalties that every year since Mike McCarthy's been here, every year it's always like, what about the penalties? We're going to work on that. We're going to work on that. Bro, you have 5 years. What are we doing with the penalties? They're still there. They're still there. What are we doing to make that different, to make it a change? Whatever it is, it's not working. Me personally, if I had to pick any of those guys, it would probably be Bill Belichick as well. Now, I've been on the record repeatedly saying I do not want Bill Belichick here because I feel like he is old and outdated. Could he do something with Mike in that defense? I absolutely believe he could. Could he make that defense next level great? I do believe that he could. His defense has always been great. It's once Tom left, it was the offense has just kind of sputtered out. Bill's not an offensive guy. That would be my only requirement. If Bill came in here as a head coach and he said, I'm going to bring you a young, smart, creative mind to be your next head offensive coordinator, now we're talking. But if you're going to bring in some retread, you're going to bring in guys like Matt Patricia and McDaniels and things like that, bro, pass. I'll pass on that. Like you have to be willing to give us something different to show us that you're serious. This doesn't need to be a retread of the New England Patriots.
But
the other thing is, go ahead.
If look, here's my thing, and both y'all are leaning towards Belichick. I'll take Belichick if we're guaranteed a dynasty like he had in New England. Bring him.
I mean, anybody would take that if you can guarantee it, but that's not guaranteed. The biggest thing is, which of those three guys do you think gives you the best opportunity to achieve a dynasty?
Out of the
Belichick
three,
72, I think he is.
Out of the three, Belichick, hands down. After that, I will go with Winton. Just my opinion.
He's actually 72.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So that's what I'm saying. Like, you don't have years and years and years with Belichick. 5, I would say at the most. Just my opinion.
That's enough.
But you've got a guy that has skins on the wall. He's a proven winner. Again, he's always proven that he can have a top 10 in the league defense.
I mean, who
which
else
I think
is
we're more than capable of.
Who else is out there other than the three we just named? There's really not a lot.
Right.
To be honest.
Right.
So
but you look at somebody like Dion, I think Dion could do it here. I just think for Dion, it's more of a trying to like Julio said, or like you said, trying to be that same kind of leader that he is in college. Would that work? Would that fly? Would it translate to the NFL? I don't know if it would.
I mean, you're dealing with, like I said. I mean, and some of the kids, I keep calling them kids. The young men in college, they're young men, yes, but like once you get to grown man status in the NFL and you're not, 24 or 23, you're talking to grown men. Some grown men aren't gonna adhere to the bull jive and junk and
the bull junk,
all that. Yes, all that stuff. You know what I mean? So it's it's gonna be tough if we tank and we get a high pick and we pick Shador. Dion's coming. Like plain and simple.
If we pick Shador, I won't watch the Dallas Cowboys, bro.
No, you'd be done?
Nah.
It's over?
Yeah, I'm done. Yeah, that's a gimmick. He's not an NFL-ready quarterback. I'm not saying he's just dog water, but I don't think he's the quarterback right now that you would want to lead your franchise.
So you don't think he's NFL caliber quarterback? You think college is his last stop? Is what you're saying?
I think he's the kind of guy that he'll be a great backup quarterback in the NFL.
So another
or
Jameis.
He'll be good behind it. He'll be a guy that if he sits behind a real professional for a couple of years, maybe he'll be ready.